Urgent divine message, chosen one, if you don't listen, you will be no more. Get ready, there comes a time when silence is no longer golden. It becomes fatal. This is one of those times. You, chosen one, are standing at a divine crossroads, and this message is not a suggestion. It is a sacred warning. You were not brought this far to linger in confusion, nor to indulge in the luxury of delay. What you are sensing deep within, those nudges, those dreams, those inner flashes, they are not random. They are instructions from the infinite, whispers from the source that formed you with intention. But if you will not listen, if you continue to ignore the vision planted in your soul, you are not merely refusing guidance. You are signing the death warrant of your purpose. The Spirit has spoken, and it will not repeat itself forever. If you don't awaken now, you will find yourself erased, not in body but in destiny. This is your moment of divine confrontation. The call is urgent, the time is now. Get ready, because obedience is the only door to survival. The voice of God is your inner vision. Ignore it, and you perish spiritually. There is a voice that speaks louder than thunder, yet no one else can hear it but you. It is not outside of you, but deep within the inner vision, the sacred whisper, the divine knowing that rises like breath from the center of your soul. It is here where God speaks. Not in chaos, not in crowds, not even in the fire and quake, but in the quiet, persistent awareness that will not let you rest. This voice, this vision, is your lifeline. It is the seed of your destiny, the invisible compass pointing toward everything you are meant to become. But here lies the danger. When you ignore this inner call, you begin to die not in flesh, but in faith, in fire, in reason for living. The moment you cast aside your spiritual intuition to fit into the logic of this world, you abandon the heavenly assignment you were chosen to carry out. The world teaches you to chase external validation, but heaven trains you to obey the inner witness. The vision you see when your eyes are closed is more real than the facts that surround you. You were never meant to live by sight, but by inner sight, by the blueprint that was shown to your spirit before time began. When God gives you a dream, it is not entertainment, it is instruction. If you suppress it, you suppress your spiritual oxygen. And slowly, like a flower cut from its root, you begin to wither, not because of sin, but because of separation from purpose. You die internally when you stop believing the voice of your own becoming. You fall asleep in the illusion of safety, but the cost is high. You trade your throne for a pillow, your calling for comfort. That still small voice, that sacred hunch that keeps calling you higher, it is not optional, it is vital. Every time you ignore it, it fades, and if you silence it long enough, you will no longer recognize when it speaks again. You may look alive to others, but you are spiritually vanished, walking without oil in your lamp, speaking without fire, moving without direction. You were warned, not because God wants to punish you, but because he longs to protect what he placed inside you. The vision you carry is a divine seed. It was never meant to be debated with others or discarded because of temporary discomfort. You cannot afford to dismiss the promptings of heaven to please the opinions of men. The tragedy of a chosen one is not failure. It is forgetfulness. You forget who you are when you no longer follow the image you were born to fulfill. This is how many perish in the spirit while still breathing in the body. You keep living, but your days lose meaning. You keep talking, but your words carry no weight. You survive, but you do not shine. And it all began the day you said no to the call, the day you ignored the inner vision that showed you who you really are. The true death is not physical. It is spiritual disconnection. When you reject your divine assignment, you wander in circles, caught in delays and distractions, because the path was never meant to be figured out. It was meant to be followed. That vision you keep seeing, that promise that keeps pressing on your heart, that's God. That's destiny speaking, and it will not leave you alone because it was never meant to. The moment you say yes to it again, the moment you trust it more than your fears, more than your logic, more than your limitations, that is the moment resurrection begins. Your spirit reignites, your path clears, your steps are ordered not by accident but by divine design, but until then every act of disobedience is a slow erosion of your light. You may think you have time, but time is not your ally when you're ignoring eternity. Your delay invites darkness, your hesitation invites decay. The heavens are speaking now, not to scare you but to shake you back into awareness. You are being warned because you are loved. But if you will not listen, you will fade from the frequency of the Spirit. You will become invisible to your purpose, a stranger to your own power. Chosen one, understand this. Your vision is not a suggestion, it is a command. It is your lifeline to the divine. You are not just hearing thoughts. You are receiving sacred codes for your breakthrough. Act on them, trust them, follow them even when they make no sense, for they are the roadmap out of the wilderness. To ignore them is to self-destruct slowly, silently. The choice is not between good and evil anymore. It is between awakening and vanishing. This is not just your warning, it is your lifeline. Return to the vision. It is where God lives in you. It is your ark, your guide, your survival. Without it, you will be no more. Listen now or perish in the illusion of tomorrow. Obedience to the inner prompting is life. Disobedience is death. There is a law that governs the invisible realm, a sacred law that many hear but few obey. It does not come from tradition, religion, or ritual, but from the eternal voice within. This inner prompting, this divine nudge that often whispers rather than shouts, is the secret source of your power and preservation. It is heaven's communication to your soul, instructing you on what to do, where to go, what to speak, and when to move. The voice may come through a sudden sense of urgency, a quiet knowing, a dream that refuses to leave your memory, or a thought that strikes with electric clarity. But make no mistake, when it comes with purpose, and your response determines whether you rise or rot. To obey this prompting is to align with divine momentum. To disobey is to choose stagnation, confusion, and ultimately the slow death of your destiny. Chosen one, you must understand, disobedience is not merely sin, it is self-sabotage. Every time you hesitate, dismiss, or delay what you inwardly know God is telling you to do, you shift your life further from alignment. You create detours where there should have been direct routes. You build wilderness seasons by refusing to follow the map drawn within you. Your peace begins to bleed, your joy turns hollow, and your strength withers, not because God abandoned you, but because you stepped out of agreement with his instructions. The cost of disobedience is not always immediate, but it is always fatal to your purpose. This is why your inner world becomes so heavy when you ignore the call. Heaven doesn't strike you down, it simply stops flowing through you. The divine current retreats, and you are left surviving on yesterday's revelation, yesterday's inspiration, yesterday's grace. But the Spirit is a living force, and it moves only with those who are listening and responding in real time. What you must realize is that your next level is voice-activated, and your obedience is the code. Until you move in faith, doors will remain shut, favor will feel frozen, and clarity will disappear. Obedience is not about understanding everything. It's about trusting that the one who placed the instruction within you also sees the end from the beginning. If you only obey when it makes sense, you're not walking by spirit. You're walking by logic, and logic was never meant to carry you through divine seasons. Some instructions will offend your comfort, interrupt your plans, and scare your flesh. That's the proof they are from God, because the Spirit is not interested in keeping you safe. It is interested in setting you free. But if you will not move when called, you forfeit what was prepared. You are not punished, you are passed over not by God, but by the very destiny you refuse to embrace. So many chosen ones perish spiritually because they keep asking for signs instead of obeying the silence that already confirmed everything. You don't need another word. You need to act on the one already given. Delay is deception. You keep telling yourself that you're praying, preparing, waiting on confirmation, but deep down you know that God already spoke. Your inner prompting was the green light. Your disobedience is why the light of your life feels dim. You are stuck not because you're cursed, but because you are disobedient. There is a grace that only shows up after movement. Until you obey, you will not see the next step. Faith is not a feeling. It is obedience in the dark. You will never fully understand what God is doing until you step into what he said. Many have spent years building lives God never asked for, all because they disobeyed the original prompting. They married the wrong person, took the wrong job, stayed in the wrong city, held on to the wrong friendship, and now they are living inside a prison built by their own refusal to obey. But here's the mercy. If you return to the last word you ignored, the path will begin to open again. God never revoked the assignment. He's just been waiting for you to respond. And let this be clear, obedience is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet, inconvenient, or unseen. It may look like letting go of something you still want, apologizing when you're not at fault, quitting a habit that still comforts you, or walking away from a good thing because it's not a God thing. But in every act of obedience, you trade what is temporary for what is eternal. You shift from struggling to surviving, from guessing to knowing, from wandering to walking in supernatural rhythm. Obedience is the ultimate proof that you trust the one who formed you. And that trust is the key to dominion. You were never meant to rule in rebellion. You rise in submission to the inner voice. That prompting you keep feeling is not meant to haunt you. It is meant to harness you into divine purpose. You are not being forced. You are being invited, but the invitation will expire if you keep resisting. Every spiritual death begins with a no to a divine yes. So choose wisely, chosen one. Stop waiting for comfort to obey. Start moving in faith, even when your mind screams in fear. Because if you keep disobeying what you know heaven told you to do, you will not only lose time, you will lose touch with the very Spirit that once called you chosen. Obedience is not optional for those called to greatness. It is the breath of their breakthrough, the only road to restoration. Say yes again, obey now. Live, you create or destroy through assumption. Now choose everything you are experiencing right now, whether good or bad, powerful or painful, liberating or limiting, is a direct result of the assumptions you've accepted and sustained within. There is no reality apart from your inner conviction. You are not merely reacting to the world. You are shaping it through the secret power of what you assume to be true. The moment you accept an idea and persist in it, you give it life. Assumption is the creative act that determines the fabric of your reality. It is not passive belief. It is active faith clothed in imagination. Every miracle begins with an assumption. Every tragedy continues because of one. You must awaken to the fact that the world you see is nothing more than the reflection of what you've dared to believe or feared to expect. This is why you cannot afford to entertain assumptions of failure, rejection, unworthiness, or delay. Every time you accept a lower version of your life and hold it in your mind as normal, you breathe life into what does not serve you. Assumption is creation, not fantasy. If you assume long enough, deeply enough, consistently enough, the entire universe will begin to rearrange itself to match your inner world. This is why the chosen ones must be vigilant. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the author of it. You are either imagining yourself into breakthrough or into breakdown. You are either rising in belief or dissolving in doubt. You cannot live in greatness while assuming smallness. You cannot attract honor while assuming invisibility. You cannot walk in victory while constantly assuming defeat. You are the gatekeeper of your reality, and the thoughts you allow to persist become the life you are forced to live. If you don't choose your assumptions, life will choose them for you. The noise of this world, the trauma of your past, the voices of the crowd, the wounds of your childhood, these are all eager to hand you assumptions that steal your power, but you must take dominion. You must choose consciously, deliberately, forcefully. You must assume that you are loved, favored, guided, powerful, protected, even when the outside world mocks your vision, especially when it does, because assumption is not based on evidence, it is based on revelation. You saw it within, and that alone makes it real. It is not your job to figure out how it will manifest. Your only task is to dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled. That means waking up every day as if it's already done, moving through the day as if the promise is already complete, speaking as one who already possesses the miracle. This is how you walk in power while others wait in confusion. This is how you break cycles that swallowed generations before you. The danger lies in careless assumption. When you assume things will always go wrong, they do. When you assume people cannot be trusted, they betray you. When you assume God is silent, you stop hearing. When you assume your time has passed, it does. Your inner state is a prophecy. You are constantly selfful, filling either divine greatness or spiritual death. This is not superstition, this is spiritual law. The world responds not to your words, but to your deep-seated beliefs. That's why some people pray with their mouths, but doubt with their hearts, and nothing happens. The universe listens to assumption, not begging. You do not receive what you hope for. You receive what you prepare for internally. You cannot fool the spirit. If you assume wrongly, you destroy your future before it has a chance to blossom. You block the blessing with your own imagination. The harsh truth is, many chosen ones live in hells of their own design because they never took responsibility for their assumptions. They waited for signs instead of assuming victory. They waited for evidence instead of assuming presence. They waited for applause instead of assuming worthiness, and so nothing changed. Until you take control of your assumptions, you are powerless. You will be tossed about by appearances, manipulated by emotions, and stuck in cycles of delay and disappointment. But the moment you claim your divine authority and assume what you desire already belongs to you, everything begins to shift. People show up, doors open, miracles break forth. Not because you begged, but because you finally believed. Assumption is alignment. It is you stepping into agreement with the reality God already prepared for you. But if you keep assuming based on fear, you will forfeit what heaven is trying to give. The time has come to choose. Will you assume greatness or obscurity? Will you assume healing or hopelessness? Will you assume alignment or chaos? This is not just a mindset. It is a spiritual decision. You are at war with the old assumptions that were planted in you by trauma, tradition, and culture. You must now uproot them and plant new ones, bold, divine, holy assumptions that reflect who you truly are in spirit. Say to yourself daily, I am already in my purpose. I am already becoming who I saw in my vision. Everything I need is flowing to me now. I am chosen. I am safe. I am rising. Persist in this until it becomes your atmosphere. Let your assumption possess you until it radiates through every cell of your being. Do not be deceived by appearances. What you see now is only the echo of old beliefs. Change the cause, the inner assumption, and the effect must follow. There is no other way. If you fail to assume rightly, you will destroy your calling while still praying for it. You will live beneath your inheritance while singing about breakthrough. God will not override the law He placed in your imagination. You must choose life through assumption, or you will create your own death through ignorance. This is the hour of decision. Assume rightly, chosen one. Your future is waiting for you to believe it into form. Divine instructions come once. Delay is a denial of destiny. There is a holy urgency that surrounds every divine instruction, a sacred pressure that does not tolerate delay or excuse. When God speaks, He does not repeat Himself endlessly, because true faith hears Him the first time. The chosen one is not given unlimited chances to obey, only windows, and these divine windows do not stay open forever. They are portals to purpose, moments of supernatural alignment, thresholds into destiny that close swiftly, if not honored with immediate response. You must come to realize that when the Spirit of God gives you an instruction, whether through a sudden insight, an unshakable inner prompting, a recurring vision, or an unmistakable word in your heart, it is not a suggestion. It is a command with eternal consequences. It arrives clothed in silence, but burns with divine fire. And if you hesitate, question, argue, or procrastinate, you may lose access to a realm that was meant to shift everything for you. This is the truth most people ignore. Delay is not passive, it is deadly. Every time you delay an instruction from God, you choose alignment with fear instead of faith. You side with your flesh instead of your future. You opt for safety instead of surrender, and in doing so, you do not just miss a moment. You miss a miracle, for what is divine instruction if not heaven invading time to guide you into divine timing? Yet so many delay obedience because the instruction feels uncomfortable, unfamiliar, or impossible. But let this be clear, God will never give you an instruction that your comfort zone agrees with. Divine instructions are disruptive. They are designed to interrupt patterns, shake foundations, and demand trust. They never ask for your permission, only your participation. They often show up when you least expect, pulling you out of routines and demanding that you walk by vision, not by sight.
And this is the test. Will you obey when it makes no sense? Will you move when no one else sees it? Will you trust the whisper more than the world? Because if you will not move immediately, you will forfeit momentum.
Destiny does not wait for indecision. An open door today may be a locked gate tomorrow. This is not because God is cruel, but because he is precise. Divine timing is surgical. It creates opportunities that are only effective in a specific season. Obedience is your access pass. Hesitation is your eviction notice. So many people are still praying for doors they refused to walk through when they were open. They are fasting for favor they once had but ignored. They are crying out for clarity, but the last time God spoke they did not move. Now they wander in confusion, not because God went silent, but because they did. When you refuse to obey, the divine flow that once surged through you dries up. You remain stuck in cycles of frustration, praying for change while denying the very instruction that would unlock it. But chosen one, you are not called to live in delay. You are called to live in decision. God is not obligated to keep repeating himself until you feel ready. Readiness is not a feeling. It is a choice. The moment you say yes, everything you need begins to align. The resources show up. The strength awakens. The connections appear. The clarity comes. But none of that happens while you delay. Heaven responds to movement, not stagnation. You must learn to move while the word is fresh, while the vision is alive in your spirit. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to act. The fire dims, the conviction fades, the doubt grows. Delay opens the door to sabotage. You start reasoning your way out of destiny, shrinking back into logic and comfort. You begin to question whether God even spoke at all. But deep down you know the truth. He did, and he's waiting. Not with anger, but with urgency. The clock is ticking. The season is shifting. You must respond. Think of every prophet, every patriarch, every disciple. None of them were allowed to delay. When the word came, they moved. Abraham left his homeland. Moses returned to Egypt. Esther risked her life. David faced Goliath. Mary said yes. Jesus endured the cross. No delay, just decision, because in the kingdom, obedience is time-sensitive. You must learn to value divine instructions more than convenience, more than approval, more than understanding. God is not asking you to figure it all out. He's asking you to follow. There are instructions right now in your spirit that you've been ignoring. Things you were told to release, places you were told to leave, conversations you were meant to have, ideas you were meant to act on. But you didn't. You waited, you doubted, you told yourself you were praying, but really you were delaying, and now you feel the weight of spiritual stagnation, but it doesn't have to stay that way. Redemption begins with renewed obedience. Return to the last instruction. Do what he told you to do. Don't ask for new words when you've ignored the old ones. The anointing flows where obedience dwells. The moment you move, the divine moves with you. God is not interested in your plans. He's interested in your obedience, because your future doesn't come by force. It comes by following. You cannot create divine results through disobedient actions. You cannot expect heaven to honor your resistance. But the moment you surrender, heaven releases what it was holding. Everything begins to open again, not because you earned it, but because you aligned. Delay was killing you. Obedience will resurrect you. This is your call, chosen one. The instruction was already given. It will not come again. Obey now, step now, move now, or lose what was only meant for this moment. The end is already shown. You're either preparing or perishing. There is a mystery that the Spirit reveals only to those it has chosen. The end is shown before the beginning truly unfolds. Before you ever take the first step, before a door opens, before a single piece of your journey makes sense, God shows you the end in glimpses, in flashes, in dreams that won't let go. That vision you saw wasn't a fantasy. It was prophecy. It was the divine blueprint planted deep in your spirit to guide you through every storm, every delay, every betrayal, every battle. And the terrifying truth is this: you are either preparing for that vision to manifest, or you are perishing because of your refusal to believe in it. There is no neutral ground. You cannot claim to have seen the promise and live like it doesn't exist. You cannot say you know your calling and still bow to fear. You cannot have tasted revelation and continue to dine with mediocrity. Once the end is shown, heaven holds you accountable for how you live in response to it. Many perish not from sin, but from stagnation, not because they were wicked, but because they stopped preparing. They saw the throne in the Spirit, but never trained for the crown. They received the calling, but never crucified the flesh. They were chosen, but lived as if they were common. And so the vision faded, not because God took it back, but because they abandoned it through inaction, distraction, and delay. Chosen one, you must understand that once the end is revealed, you are summoned into transformation. Every part of your life must now submit to that picture. Your mindset must elevate, your habits must align, your circle must reflect your assignment. You cannot remain the same and expect the future to appear. You cannot wait for everything to be perfect. You must start moving while it's messy. God doesn't show you the end for entertainment. He shows it to ignite a fire, a focus, a discipline that will not let you quit. But if you keep treating your vision like a vague idea instead of a divine instruction, you will perish, not in body but in destiny. You will exist but never thrive. You will work but never fulfill. You will speak but never impact, because the moment you ignore the vision, you forfeit the transformation required to become it. This is why you must prepare, even when nothing looks like it's happening. Especially then, the greatest faith is not in shouting about what's coming, but in quietly, consistently preparing for it behind closed doors. It's waking up every day and praying like the breakthrough is already here. It's studying like you're already leading. It's forgiving like you're already free. It's building like the crowd is already listening. It's walking in the identity of the one you saw in the Spirit, long before anyone else sees it in you. Because the moment you stop preparing, you start perishing. You begin to rot in purpose, even as you function in life. You talk about destiny, but your actions contradict it. You become frustrated with delay, when in truth the delay is in your preparation. The vision will not lower itself to your current level of discipline. You must rise. The prophecy will not chase you. You must become it. This is where most chosen ones fail, not in desire, but in development. They want the platform, but not the process. They want the reward, but not the responsibility. They want the glory, but not the growth. But heaven does not promote potential. It promotes preparation. And preparation is proven not in public, but in private obedience, private sacrifice, private transformation. That image you keep seeing of who you're supposed to become is not waiting for a perfect moment. It's waiting for your full submission. You are either becoming the version of you that can carry the vision, or you are slowly killing it through spiritual laziness and emotional inconsistency. Make no mistake, the end is not a suggestion. It is your assignment. You saw it so you could become it, but becoming takes work. It takes dying to who you were. It takes letting go of everything and everyone that doesn't fit the final picture. It takes faith in silence, obedience in confusion, and joy in trials. Because preparation is painful, it strips you, shapes you, stretches you, but that pain is proof that you are being molded into the vessel worthy of the vision. If you avoid the pain, you avoid the promise. If you avoid the process, you sabotage the prophecy. But if you surrender, fully, completely, relentlessly, what you saw in the Spirit will soon be seen by all. The end will become visible, not because you forced it, but because you became it. Chosen one, this is your wake-up call. You cannot delay preparation any longer. The clock is moving. The window is narrowing. What you saw was real. The promise is alive, but you are the variable. If you will not rise to match the vision, you will decay beneath it. And the saddest tragedy is to have seen the future and never stepped into it. Do not let that be your story. Prepare like it's already done. Move like it's already manifested. Speak like the promise is fulfilled. Become the end that was shown, or slowly perish in the comfort of delay. The choice is yours. Become the vision, or be erased by your refusal to honor it.